There's a nice python down here. On the end of there. Oh yeah, here we go. Well, hello everyone, Ant-Man here. Thought of doing something a little bit different here, and I'm going to put the 3 different methods of hunting in one video. So it's going to be 3 days of daytime hunting and 3 different techniques. One of them is going to be via bicycle, one will be via truck, and one will be walking via boat access. So all can be productive. You can get to different locations via one way that you can't get another. Some of these areas you're not allowed to take vehicles. Some of these areas are only accessible by canoe or boat. And some of them are just best hunted on foot or via bicycle or something of that nature. A lot of times when you hunt from a vehicle, you do overlook the little things. And when you're out on foot, you can really take in the small details, or maybe even just possibly catch a glimpse of a python that's really buried in the vegetation. So I do prefer to be on foot or on a bike or something a little slower than a vehicle when I can. But of course the advantage of the vehicle is you're covering much more ground. And if the snakes are out basking on a given day, then you have a good chance of encountering one if you're just covering miles and miles of levee. But anyway, it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to catch some pythons and see some other things along the way. So let's go ahead and jump right on into the episode. Right. All right. Let's see what we got. It's a male, so I'm gonna have to look for a girl now. Little guy, maybe 7 foot long or so, but good start to the morning. Still fairly early. Probably just old enough to be sexually mature. But good. Constrict the old arm. Makes it easier when they ball up like this. Now I can go ahead and log them in, get all this grass off of them. Well, method number 1 was hunting from a vehicle on a levee. So method number 2 is accessing some of the dry ground that's out in the Everglades. There are a myriad of different areas out there, man-made spoil islands. There's levees that are out there that are accessible via boat only, and there's also natural hammocks. So here I am with my buddy Kevin, and we're trying to make our way through some very dense vegetation where there really is no trail, kind of making a trail to access some areas out in the Everglades. But using a canoe or a john boat or a kayak to get to some of these areas can be really helpful. A lot of them are off the beaten path and are not accessible via a regular boat. So sometimes doing the paddling to get to locations can be beneficial, which is what we're doing in the case right here. But either way, it gets us out to some remote areas and we find lots of pythons, and sometimes we get on some pretty good snakes out in these areas. So let's go ahead and check right in. Okay, so they are here.
Male.
Male, okay.
In shed male.
That's what you expected. Huh, okay, well. I was, as you were finding that snake, I was saying that is matted down back here, which is pretty much what we had expected. You'll see it in a minute. It looks like a snake was there. Yeah.
Hell yeah, buddy.
That was easy enough.
Oh yeah.
Cool. There's a pad over here. I'll show it to you. It's subtle because of the fact that this is not an easy spot to leave.
Sign at.
Yeah. Yeah, you could tell he's been breeding. He's all skinnied out. It's into the season, you know. Yeah. Cool. Well, that leads us to the final methods of daytime hunting, which is walking an edge, which I'm doing here, and looking for sign of python, you know, pads, shed skins, drag trails, all the things that I usually look for when I'm in a vehicle or from a boat or anything like that. But it's a lot easier to find little details when you're on foot. And probably one of my favorite ways is, well, riding my bike. I can access areas that you can't get to via a vehicle, and I can also cover a little bit more ground than while I'm walking, but it's slow enough that you can still see some snakes that are buried in the vegetation. You also see some crazy things like that vulture. A nice, emaciated, old cottonmouth here. Large snake, very skinny snake though. There's a gaping right there, or was a second one. Very skinny snake. Look at the cross section on his body. Snake is extremely ill, unfortunately. It's something we see quite frequently in South Florida. Any snakes that eat other snakes and amphibians like king snakes, indigos, racers, cottonmouths are usually in very bad shape like this one. This one's at least 40% underweight, maybe more. Yep, you want to show us your there, buddy? He's quite content to just stay like he is. We can go ahead and leave him alone. Alright, python down here. Oh yeah, here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, what do we got? Maybe a gravid girl. Gonna find out in a minute here. Yep, it is a gravid female. So she was out this time of year. These snakes will bask. She's not that big, probably about 9 feet. This is probably her first year breeding. Boy, I tell you what, she's not happy right now. Okay. So, this is what we were after. This time of year, you'll get these snakes. They're usually very aggressive like she is when she's gravid. She was out cooking her eggs, incubating them inside her body. You can see where it kind of fattens up about right there towards the latter half of her body. What is she mad? That's where she's got her eggs. So, yep, that's good. Because so far it's been a slow day. I've only seen a few native snakes, cottonmouth, yellow rat, couple of racers. But this is a good sign. So, yep, she's gonna go probably a tiny bit over 9 feet, but not much. Yep, definitely female. She's actually cold to the touch, even though right now the air temp is probably around 81. She probably just came out. Will absorb that sun. And like I said, you can see towards the interior part of her body, she's really thicker than up around her neck. That's because she's got her eggs. Big snake this size is probably only going to lay somewhere around 20 to 25 eggs. This is probably her first year. But nonetheless, that's good. We got one down. Let's see if we can get some more. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit of the bagging process on these snakes when you're solo. They'll tire out pretty quickly. Generally what I like to do is grab the tail and the head both in one hand so that it causes a loop to form like that. Take that loop, put it in the bag, lower the snake down, let the tail, and never let go, never let the snake hang by the weight of its head. When you let go, a lot of times the teeth will snag you on the way down. So I always make sure the snake is resting on the ground. Let go like that. Tie her off. Double bag her, and we'll move on. Perfect. Well, there you have it. 3 basic daytime techniques for finding pythons. One of them is to take a vehicle and drive levees and roads and scan the edge like I did on this snake here, and obviously when you see one, run down and catch it. One of the other ways is to access via areas from a boat or a kayak or a canoe. John boats especially come in real handy in the Everglades, and canoes also, because you can push through areas like this where there's pretty much no trail. You have to kind of blaze your own trail to access some of these areas, but it gets you out to little spoil islands and hammocks and such, like where we caught this python right here with my buddy Kevin. It's a pretty common technique we use to get out there off the beaten path, is to use a canoe and kind of get away from everybody. But as I had mentioned earlier, my favorite technique is pretty much to use a bicycle, because I can cover a little bit more ground than I would when I'm walking, but it's not so fast that I'm running around in a truck and missing things. And as I get older, my eyes are aging, so I have to take in the little details, and really sometimes, like this snake was actually pretty concealed. You have to kind of look way up in the vegetation and spot these snakes. So riding a bike is a good kind of in the middle mix of walking and using a vehicle. It's a technique that I employ quite often. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy the episode, found some nice snakes, and got to share a little basic techniques for how I do it out there in the winter months. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate everyone who watches these videos. I really enjoy making them and sharing my experiences with you. Hope to see you all out there in the Everglades. Take care and stay safe later on. Now, still a couple of races, but this is a good sign.